like a propagation of energy transmitted through the proximal materials. Like, you know, one grain of dirt is next to another grain of dirt, basically, like that kind of thing. So anyways, that is definitely, you know, limited in frequency, more so, well, directly, I believe, like, is correct. See, the wave itself is the energy dissipation, the traveling of the energy being dissipated. So, and then, like, but the difference between those is, like, there's a limiting frequency to anything, I think, because with the transverse wave, the limiting frequency is inherent in the wave itself, because, you know, the thing is, like, no matter how small the amplitude, because it is dissipating from one material to another, the speed at which that can occur is not only is limited, you know, by the speed of light. You know, good game, Einstein. Like, thanks for all that and stuff. But and so due to that, you know, principles of relativity. But like, the thing is with the transverse wave, though. I mean, longitudinal waves. I think their frequency is limited as well, but it's not inherent in the wave itself, because I mean, the limiting frequency is inherent in the actuator, like whatever produces that wave. So like, that's why I brought up the speaker, is because longitudinal wave, you know, you have a percussive kind of, it's like a percussive action, I suppose. It's like, you know, basically it's like kind of like your hand pushing the box, you know. So like, there's like with the speaker, you have air molecules in the air, and so like, I mean, obviously there wouldn't be air, but and so like, the speaker, what is, you know, everybody's seen a speaker and all that. It's made out of like a really thin it's made out of really thin flexible paper, you know. It's like basically like more it's like sturdy tissue paper, basically, you know. It's like, well, it's got the folds, the crinkles or whatever, that kind of like increase its flexibility, so they can kind of like, there's like folds can unfold and like expand or whatever, like to make a more like a flattened surface, you know, because like if you push it out the center of the speaker, and it's got like a little cup on it, you know, and so basically like to radially disperse, like in a, or not radially is like 2 dimensions, and 3 dimensions would be spherically, but like, you know, the little cup is like spherically disperses, or spherically applies the movement in the air, because this basically, you get the best, you know, even energy dispersion to the air molecules in that way. And so like, with that though, so that's a longitudinal wave, you know, it's like pushing the air molecules, like whenever you see a speaker, it's like, especially like, you know, bass requires quite a bit of power. What did I say that? I suppose that doesn't make sense. Bass only requires a lot of power because the amplitude, like, it's low frequency but it's high amplitude. You know, like the thugs, when they, not thugs, but you know, like people who enjoy listening to rap music. It's like you want a powerful bass. You know, I mean, everybody's been in traffic before and had to suffer through, you know, somebody who thought everybody else wanted to hear their music, you know, it's kind of, but, and so, so they, you know, they basically, I mean, to be honest, like, for rap, when it comes to rap music, like to really, to be honest, like the bass line is the entire song. Like that is like what makes it so appealing, I believe. Like when it comes to the note progressions, like obviously they, you know, any amount of any performance needs to be appealing, no matter what type of performance it is, like what nature of performance that is. But the thing is with rap music is like the bass line. Anyway, so whatever. So the only that was an inaccurate. See, and now I'm getting on a tangent about the inaccuracy. Like trying to, I haven't been to the doctor in a while. I haven't like gotten my ADD medications. I'm sorry, guys. But so anyways, so yeah, anyways, what I was trying to say was that even with a longitudinal wave, even though, because the amplitude doesn't need to be all that great, because if you think about it, how far, you know, if you ever had a speaker exposed, like, you know, outside of its cabinet, like, if you just have it sitting out, and like, I'm sure you've seen one of these, and you know, it's just basically like, whenever electricity is applied, the magnetic, it's got the yeah, it's got to work off of Maxwell's principle, Maxwell's laws. The electric changing electric current produces a magnetic field, basically like an equally changing magnetic field or whatever. Like, well, not equally. It's like it's perpendicular to the direction of change of the magnetic field. But anyways, so but basically like that because of the microelectronics, basically like because of transistors and integrated circuits, the variation of electric voltage and current, well, not, and in integrated circuits, the current's very low and usually not modified a great deal, but like, damn it. With you know, it's usually most of the voltage, or like the lack of voltage, or the current, or the circuit, like with the, you know, PNP transistors, are basically like, you know, what helps modify those aspects of the the circuit so rapidly because of quantum mechanic principles that have to do with semiconductors. That's basically like, you know, anyways, there's like this effect called like quantum tunneling, basically, or sorry, I believe I'm incorrect. Maybe I don't think I'm accurately describing this, but basically like there's the occupation saturation, like there's certain energy levels that can be occupied in any particular material, like a molecule or atom. And so like the what happens is with semiconductors is that there are there's like certain saturation levels that are reached by electrons in the atoms of the material, and it's easily variable based on what they call doping. It's where you basically like take, it's kind of like stomping on drugs, you know what I mean? like when, you know, like if you buy cocaine off the street, it's gonna be like probably nowadays like 30% to maybe 40% potency, like, you know, But actual cocaine, I mean, when it's made, it's more like a dried out paste, to be honest. Like, well, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to make it, but anyways, so from the cocoa plant or whatever. But I mean, pure cocaine is like a freaking slab. Like it's just like a brick. Basically, like it comes in hard chunks. Like you just kind of like hit it with a hammer, and it's like really brittle concrete or some shit. But like by the time you get it, you know, it's like basically it's probably been passed down because of all the different, you know, anti-drug laws, and, you know, all the different measures that have gone into, you know, basically inhibiting people from, you know, making their own decisions in life. Cause I mean, back in the day, they used to put fucking cocaine in Coca-Cola. I mean, that's why it's called Coca-Cola. It's like, that wasn't that long ago. I mean, America's like the youngest, well, I wouldn't say it's the youngest nation. I mean, because in Europe, you've got like, you know, countries that come to be and come and pass, you know, like overnight. I mean, like for instance, like like Bosnia, Lithuania. What is this? Czech Republic. I don't know. You know, the running joke is like Americans are like absolute trash at like geography tests and stuff. So, like, I doubt that, you know, I'm referring to all these things accurately, but Czech Republic. Anyway, so basically, Jesus. I started talking about like sound waves, and now I'm talking about cocaine. Anyways, so like, yeah. Anyways, it's stomped on, basically, and you know, because everybody everybody needs to make a profit, right? And so, because of all the security measures in America, due to you know, an oppressive, you know, it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like basically, I don't know. It's like the government perhaps thinks it knows what's best for you more than you do, kind of thing. But anyway, so I mean, I'm not saying like cocaine should be legal or like, you know, like that would be a good idea to just go and like make cocaine legal like tomorrow, and you know, everybody should smoke crack, and you know, you should give up on all your dreams and that kind of thing. It's not like, I'm just saying, you know, whatever. I have odd opinions, I believe, about some things, but and so everybody has to make some profit though, so it has to change so many hands that, you know, everybody basically, like, I used to work at a GNC, and they sell inositol, which is the name for vitamin B3, I think, or B7, actually, I think. I don't remember. Anyways, it's either B3 or B7 or something like that. And so B4, who knows? There's like 9 to 12. There's 12 different Bs. B vitamins is like, I don't know. It just uses a different letter. I don't understand. I don't know. I guess if I was like an organic chemist, you know, it'd be more evident to me. But and I wouldn't sound like such an idiot. But so anyways, yeah, there would be Hispanics that would come, and I'm not, you know, being like trying to be racial or like, you know, it's not that the only factor or attribute of that person that I observed, took note of or whatever, was the fact that they were of a different ethnicity than me. It's not like that, you know, it's like they were just Hispanic. And in America, you know, to be honest, like, because of the immigration laws being so strict, the occupations which are obtained with the most ease for Latino peoples living in North America are occupations which do not require much documentation, verification of citizenship and that sort of thing, which basically ends up being like manual labor, like farming and stuff like that, and then obviously selling drugs, because to be honest, when it comes to drugs, the less you know about someone, the better on both ends, because usually that's reciprocative. The knowledge is usually reciprocatively associate, like they mutually varying kind of thing. Like kind of like the more you know about someone, it's usually the case that they know more about you, that kind of thing. And so if you don't know anything about someone, you can't rat them out. So usually it likes to be a bit more hush hush. So anyways, they would come down to GNC and they would always pay in cash. Always in cash. Never anything documentable kind of thing. Like, because you don't want to go. This is the same reason why, basically in America, it's a police state at this point. I mean, I don't want to say that. I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to be like a freaking conspiracy theorist and be like, it's not like, aliens occupy the White House, or I'm not trying to be like, weird or anything, like exaggerated, but like, to be honest, like, I mean, it's just like the amount of regulations. But so anyways, like, basically the fucking NSA at this point has and I'm not joking. I mean, you can open up Popular Science magazine, like literally read an article. I mean, they're not even quiet about it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I don't know. It's gotten to be so, but whatever. So all empires must fall at some point. But so anyways, the NSA has like a freaking. They just created, because they got the Patriot Act. So it's basically like, within borders espionage kind of things. Like, basically they can just access whatever the hell they want to. So it's like you take a bad thing and turn it into something that's like advantageous in a bad way for yourself kind of thing. It's like, because of 9/11, it's like they used it's like basically like, okay, so George Bush comes into office, right, and so he has to have an enemy that because I mean everybody has their programs, right? So like Nixon had the war on drugs, his wife had all that stuff, and like and all, it's just kind of like everybody has their thing. You have to rally the peoples in some way, like just to make yourself, one, look like you're doing something, because you really don't even need to do anything when it comes to government in the United States anymore. But but anyways, all right, I'm getting a bit crazy on this. But so anyways, the NSA just built like freaking an entire, like a fortress of freaking computers and databases, all pretty much like underground, out in like the Midwest, and it's all just like fucking, the NSA paid Google like $5 million. Or maybe it's trillion, I can't remember it. Anyways, it was enough. But they paid them like, or sorry, not 5 billion, not trillion. But it was a fair amount of money. And so they just paid them. You can go on like WikiLeaks right now and read like this stuff. Like, I'm not joking, dude. Like, I mean, I can sound as crazy as I want, but go to WikiLeaks.com or whatever. I forget the domain, exact domain name. Whatever. Google WikiLeaks, this shit. But you can read. They were like, they hacked the emails. Like, I suppose Anon or whoever. Like, hacked downloaded all the emails from, there's a Google Rogue subdivision or whatever, kind of like a, whatever, like, I guess you call it like a, what you would call kind of like a, what would be considered in corporate law as a separate body from, but also owned by and maintained by the same company kind of thing. It's like, I don't really, I'm having trouble thinking of like, okay, so like, okay, Microsoft has Hotmail, right? So Hotmail is not, you know, Hotmail is its own corporate entity, right? So it's directly affected by Microsoft and their decisions just because it's an aggregate of Microsoft, but it's not actually like, there's not, it's not actually like, if you went to sue Hotmail.com, if you went to sue Hotmail in court, Microsoft would not be liable for, I don't believe Microsoft, I mean, obviously it would be directly affecting, but it's not considered, it's not considered to be exactly related. It's kind of like if you had an illegitimate child, basically like from the, you know, 1600s, or whatever you want to call it, like back when they had kings and queens, well, I mean, they still have kings and queens, but it's a bit different, you know, like medieval days, whatever, like dark ages. You know, there were like bastard children, and it was like, I guess if you were lucky, like, you would be acknowledged by your, you know, aristocratic begetter, I guess is it. if you've been begotten, if you beget someone, like, so it's like if you give birth to someone, you beget them, and then like, so I guess the person that begets you is your begetter. Anyway, whatever. So your dad, who's a king or something, who like ended up getting all like drunk and wanting some poontang at the local tavern. If you're lucky, he would, you know, like donate towards you having a good life and all that. So it'd be like, I don't know, whatever. So fucking. Anyways, basically the NSA pays Google to take all the information they ever process. Like anytime someone signs up for an account, or anytime they send an email, anytime they chat, anytime you use a Google service, all of that data is routed through basically like a filtering system that is owned by the NSA. I don't remember the exact name for it, but if you go to WikiLeaks, you can see all of it. I mean, there's like it's crazy. Anyway, so basically, like the Mexicans that came to GNC, yes, I'm still talking about that, I promise. And I promise I'll get back to semiconductors and sound waves and all that too. But so anyways, the Spanish that came to GNC, they would always pay in cash, because if you use a credit card anywhere in the United States, everything that you ever do pretty much is always recorded. And so like, even if it's 15 years later, it's likely that if someone really cares enough, you can pretty much figure out where, how, what, when, and why about just about anything, to be honest. Because everything in the United States, yeah, I mean, it's a first world country, you know. I mean, it's like, I'm sure it's even worse in like Japan, you know, or South Korea, places that are a bit more technologically developed than even here. But I would say probably South Korea, because I just feel like it's more likely. In Japan, it's not really, it's not as, like, the public eye is not felt to be as necessary, I believe. like, for instance, you know, well, it's just because it's been so isolated, I believe. Like, you know, because the crime rate there is like, you know, pretty much zero. Like, it's you don't really. It's just a different world, man. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's probably because, you know, it's an island, and, you know, maybe, like, early on, I mean, I don't want to say, like, that, I mean, I've never, you know, I talk about it, but I only talk about it, like, from a distance, you know what I mean, like, only from what I've heard, so, like, or not heard, but what I've found out or studied, or what the information that I've gained through my interest in the location, you know, it's basically like, I think maybe that the initial or the stereotypical, which has changed quite a lot, in fact, like, radically changed, in my opinion, from what it used to be. Classically, I believe, like, the stereotype in America is that, you know, you have, like, if you have a first generation immigrant family, coming from, like, China or Japan, which, I only say those, I mean, obviously Korea could be possible, but I only say China and Japan just because those are the most common, that come here, because I guess, you know, half of Korea lives in, you know, 1950s Russia, but, I mean, like, now, see, now, let me take that back. I had, Sonyi, was a Korean foreign exchange student at, my high school, who I became okay friends with, I suppose. I thought she was pretty cute, you know. I wanted to, like, date her or whatever, so I got her this, like, Tenchi Muyo poster or whatever, because like, my only exposure to, like, Asian culture at that point had been, like, Toonami on Cartoon Network, like Tenchi Muyo, and, like, I don't know, anyway, so, but anyway, so, sorry, I'm trying to figure out how that's connected to the Hispanics that were buying an Occidental at GNC. Oh yeah, because I was saying that, like, recording events is a common difficulty in the United States, and that I'd imagine, because we're a first world country, I suppose, and that we have the capabilities of doing that type of recording. And then I said that I imagined that it was equally as probable that that could be a difficulty faced in other locations that are technologically developed, more so even than the United States, which was Japan and Korea, South Korea, and but then I was saying that Japan was I don't know, it's a lot more relaxed, just because, like, well, one, they don't have, like, 50 artillery like cannons aimed at their capital at all times, but anyways, Kim Jong-un was like, I don't know, I mean, I don't know, man. Anyways, I don't think that I have enough. First, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to divulge an opinion on all of that, just because, you know, I don't really understand it well enough, you know, like, I guess live through it, like, you know, because I mean, really, you know, the problem is with that is, like, I mean, I'm I'm not saying it's not as bad as it is reported to be, but the problem with the thing that I believe is what that makes someone from America incapable of accurately evaluating that, like, you know, geopolitical climate is that you know, the problem is that they're because they're so restrictive on, you know, they, or at least I have to disclaim pretty much everything I'm saying. So the information that Americans are fed about, you know, from their governing body about, or at least the rest of the world from the body that, you know, basically dictates what is known or what is communicated about that portion of the world. Based on that information, you know, it seems that, you know, North Korea is so restrictive with what is released because, you know, they basically deify, or basically like try to make they being the succession of dictators at that place, or in North Korea, Kim Jong Kim Jong Sung Il and Un, like, because they're so restrictive on what information enters or leaves that civilization, I believe that it leaves a easy kind of like creates an opportunity for other cultures to shape or form or without any sort of conflict, basically like generate an opinion about that portion of the world that is not able to be rivaled. So the only reason I the only reason that I refrain from expressing an opinion about the situation there is that that I don't know what is accurate about what is known. Which, I mean, I don't want to say that. I mean, like, there are defectors that do give a testimony, you know, of what. I mean, even just recently, like, I watched a 60 Minutes or something like that. Yeah, I think it's 60 Minutes. I watched a documentary on the North Korean prison camps. They have this rule. It's like, and I'm talking about all this information that I'm stating. I would like to say that, you know, one, my whole point in saying this is, like, I realize that I don't have an accurate view of what occurred there. I mean, I know that America was there, and I know that, you know, like, a lot of stuff happened there that, you know, I don't particularly agree with. I mean, I'm not trying to be like a pacifist or say, like, you know, America sucks, and I'm not trying to say that, you know, we should have, you know, I mean, that's the problem with that kind of thing is, like, one, nobody wants to have war ever, and two, I'm just so immature, like, in life, like, you know, I'm only 26. So I don't know what it is to. I've never experienced war, so I can't. You know, it's such a dramatic like. I don't, and even between wars, like I don't even think like people from. I mean, people are able to discuss war when they've experienced it, yes, but like even people from different wars, it's just so. You know, it's kind of like you can't really know something unless you've been there, kind of thing. Like you might have an idea, but like it's not. You've just got an idea, you know. It's like it's always really different. Like whenever you know you're directly affected by something. Like if you know have to live through like certain things, like it can be so traumatic that like you don't even care to like hear about things that are related. Yeah, I haven't used like a single bomb, but you don't like to even like discuss things remotely related to it just because it's just so shocking to your sensibility, like of like your I guess it's improper to say, but your evaluation of yourself. I don't know, like kind of like you don't. Anyways, so I was just saying that North Korea does not, from what I know, with what we get fed in America, you know, North Korea doesn't release much information, and so it causes possibly. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. So anyways, the Mexicans would come to GNC and buy a Nositol. And like, anyways, so they would stomp on the cocaine and they would like dilute it. And anyways, that's what I was talking about. I was saying like they would come in and buy like $500 worth of freaking inositol. Like literally just like pure white powder is all it is. And it, like, I guess, you know, it's soothing. It's not irritating to the nose or something, like you can snort it and it's not like all that bad, but anyways, so I was saying that everything gets stomped on in America and all this stuff, and then I started rambling like an old person about how like the government's going shit and all this, and I'm really sorry, but so anyways, the doping of the semiconductors is which is what the conversation had originated from, I believe, is what is used to modify the voltage of the circuits, the electrical circuits or whatever, like in PNP transistors, I believe. Yeah, I guess it's like semiconductors, I believe. I don't know, don't quote me on it. But anyway, so and then the voltage gets regulated and rapidly changes or whatever. Like, anyways, and so then you have like. And this is getting back to the longitudinal waves that I was, you know, sadly talking about like an hour ago. And so, anyways, all the way back to that, full circle. So you have, and I was just saying like the even you know transverse waves are, in my opinion, much more hindered or like limited frequency, in my opinion, than longitudinal waves, the like percussive waves, basically like travel in a it's like a variation of pressure in the air. So like whenever you know the speaker like thrusts forward, whenever you listen to the sound or whatever, it's generated by the movement of the air. Like, you know how your eardrum is like inside of your ear, and so like it's all flat and shit. Like there's, you know, a hole like basically, and it's like an elongated hole, and it's just like kind of a tube of flesh that goes to your eardrum, and so like that whenever the speaker moves forward, it creates the pressure variation. Like it basically, you know, like pushes the air molecules forward, and so like then the air molecules, that the movement of the air molecules against the pressure of them bombarding, basically like in like the eardrum being bombarded by the air molecules in a specifically timed way, generates basically like the frequency, that you hear. So like the higher pitched tones, are like a faster movement of the speaker, the paper, like the little cup and all that stuff on the outside, that's moved by the magnet on the inside, on the back side of the speaker. Like for an instance, like you can take a magnet that will really fuck up a CRT, like those old TVs, not an LCD, but they have these things called CRTs, like cathode ray tubes, and so like what it is like those the CRT, this big, like, the dinosaur TVs, I guess, like the kids nowadays, or like most people watching this probably don't even like know what the hell I'm talking about, but there's like really deep, actually I guess they're playing games from like freaking 1985 or I don't know, like 90s, whatever, whenever the first one came out, but it was like those old TVs are real deep and stuff, and they got like thick glass screens, not like the thin film kind of like flimsy whatever, like the thin LCD TVs nowadays. You could take a speaker, like the back of it, like if you took it out of the cabinet, like where it's just exposed, you take it, you put it up to the TV, it makes like this crazy looking color pattern that'll stay for a little while because it magnetizes the materials inside of the screen. The magnetism actually like is the magnetic field modifying the path of the electrons. So they call it cathode ray tubes because the cathode is like a where the electrons come off of a or sloughed off of a like from a battery, like a cathode and an anode. It's like the cathode is like the negatively charged, and the anode, or I think I'm remembering that correctly. I don't know. I'm not an electronic engineer. It's been a while so, since I remember. It's been like 3 years since I've really like even studied anything like relating to it or whatever. But basically there's like these electrons, like a photon. It's like a phosphorescent screen or whatever, and it's just like basically like gives off light when it's bombarded. Well, I guess it's not phosphorescent. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it has to be. Anyways, so it gets bombarded by the electrons. They get shot out of this like kind of like highly charged. You have to have really high voltage, high potential, and I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm just saying that because I know that you have to have this thing called like a flyback switch or flyback transformer. In a CRT monitor, like a cathode ray tube monitor, there's a thick. It's like just like a TV. It's like where they're thick and glass and all this stuff with old school monitors for computers. They had a high voltage transformer in the actual monitor, and the only reason I know that is because you can actually create a plasma globe out of a if you get a high voltage light bulb. I think it's like gotta be like 120 watt. I mean, maybe it's high wattage. No, it's high voltage, I think. Anyways, but they're filled with a noble gas. Noble gases are not easily excited. That's why they're called noble gases, because they don't interact with chemicals. Like as well as other elements and stuff. So basically, like noble gases take a lot of energy to like be affected, kind of like, or you have to have a high energy electron to. Don't quote me on this, and I'm like trying to, I don't know. I'm sure like 90% of the things, or not 90%, maybe like 15%, enough to really matter, is like actually quite inaccurate in the things that I'm saying. So, it's not like I wouldn't like listen to me and then like take a test on something. But anyway, so the noble gases are like not easily excited, and so and they use those in high voltage or high wattage light bulbs. I don't remember which. But I think it's high wattage. But anyways, and so you can take one of those, and usually they use xenon. All the different noble gases, they use them in neon lights because they actually like generate specific colors that are very distinct. I believe xenon is blue, and that's what you'll find in like a lot of high wattage light bulbs. Anyways, you can take that and like a wire mesh screen, and take the wire mesh screen and wrap it around the light bulb and the glass of the light bulb on the outside. You connect the take the CRT monitor, and you take the flyback transformer in the side of the CRT monitor that handles really high voltages, and you connect it you put the light bulb in the circuit path for the transformer, and you can basically like create a plasma globe. And so it like what happens is like the high voltage. You have to have the high voltage because what happens is you have to take the wire mesh on the outside of the light bulb. You can get the electrons to travel through the glass to I think it's through the glass. No, I guess it probably wouldn't be through the glass. So I guess they attempt, basically like you take an easy target for them and put it like on the other side of the glass, and somehow, I'm not sure what the actual physical mechanism for its operation is, but basically like it tries to the light on the center of the light bulb. You've got like the because you know where it screws in is like the positive end of the circuit, basically like and so you have the wire mesh on the outside of the bulb, and what happens is you take the flyback transformer and it generates much higher voltages than the bulb usually would be exposed to, that would be necessary for its like normal operation. And so like the high energy electrons, like there's such a large potential that the electrons actually stream or attempt to stream to the metal on the other side of the glass. You know, because you got the wire mesh wrapped around it. They attempt to travel to the metal on the other side of the glass. And so what ends up happening is, you know, like with a plasma globe, how you have it like, it kind of like these crazy like random arcs that jump out and stuff. It's the same effect. Like you can take a CRT monitor and a high voltage light bulb and create a plasma globe with a wire mesh screen, like for like $5 if you have the CRT monitor. Basically, like you go to I remember, like I think I spent maybe like $15 because I went to a thrift shop and you can get CRT monitors, like, well, not anymore. I mean, it's like about as easy as finding a dial-up modem these days. But dude, but anyways, like I was trying to modify my Dreamcast. You have to I was adding like a anyways, I was trying to play Phantasy Star Online, like on a private server. Those things are hard to find. But so anyways, you can take the CRT monitor and it's like $15, you know, make like a plasma globe and all that shit. It's pretty cool. So anyways, noble gases and why talking about it. We're starting with circuits, and then starting with circuits with the semiconductors on the speakers, and how the speakers generate longitudinal wave. I think I was talking about like the saturation, the energy difference for occupying energy levels on a semiconductor is like so great at certain levels. Like you can dope it basically, like, and that was the reason I was talking about the stomping on cocaine and the Hispanics and all that. But anyways, and so whatever. And so I was saying that a transverse wave, regardless, like I think, you know, longitudinal wave, I mean, transverse wave is definitely much more impeded by relativity. Like in my opinion, I mean, I could be wrong about it, but, you know, intuitively it seems that longitudinal wave is, yeah, that's the frequency is impeded, because the thing with the longitudinal wave or the transverse wave is like, it's, you know, like actual particles, kind of like very more rigid material, like compounds, like the intermolecular forces between particles which partake in constituting a transverse wave is the intermolecular forces are much greater than the particles which partake in constituting a longitudinal wave. Because I mean, for instance, you know, in layman's terms, you know, try and punch the ground, you know, and then try and take your hand and wave it through the air. Like, what's the difference? You know, it's like, is it much harder to punch the ground or wave your hand in the air? You know, that's basically what it comes down to. And so, the thing with the longitudinal waves, though, is that it's not inherently the wave, the actual wave, the limitation of frequency in the wave is not inherent in the wave itself as much as, that's not the limiting factor with a longitudinal wave. Like with the transverse wave, that is, but the longitudinal wave, it's less likely, in my opinion, that the limitations would be expressed through the material being acted upon than it is the actual actuator which generates the wave. Because the thing is, like, okay, the materials that constitute the wave are not as like the mutual hindrance of motion between the particles constituting a transverse wave, a transverse wave, is greater than a longitudinal wave. And so what ends up happening is, what I think would end up happening is that the energies due to, because a speaker, for instance, it's obvious that a speaker has to work much harder than the energy contained in the sound it produces, you know? Because as the speaker flexes and its height or its extension fluctuates, you know, the power supplied to the speaker, a lot of it's lost in the motion between the particles which constitute the speaker itself, like the not obviously not all the metal and stuff. It's the paper and stuff, like when you, like, all the flexing and stuff, like, because those flexing motions, like, you lose energy because it's not like, you know, like if you take a lever, like if you take a shovel and stick it under a rock, like the edge of a rock, and then you push down on the shovel, like the handle, like with a lever, basically like all the force is directly applied to that one, you know, spot. Like it's all applied in like one specific like direction kind of thing. But like when it comes to something like moving a speaker, like having to extend those ridges on its inside, you lose a lot of energy through motion directed, not in the not in such a way that it actually is producing the motion of air molecules as much as if you had stuck that rock, the shovel under the rock. I mean, basically, like every bit of force that you apply to the shovel handle is like going to be directly transmitted to the at least I can like consistently get to the boss now. But anyways, yeah. So basically, like the frequency of a longitudinal wave is like inhibited only in the, or is more so inhibited by the energy loss or the efficiency of the mechanism which acts as the actuator, or you know, in more simple terms, I suppose, like what actually generates the wave, like the method or the method of operation of the mechanism that produces that wave is like is more I think is like the, relativistically speaking, or like approaching, whenever you want to talk about like infinite frequencies for sound waves, like I think that would be your problem, is trying to increase the efficiency of the actuator, like the mechanism for the production of that wave, because you know, it's not like, I don't know, like if you ever like torn a speaker apart kind of thing, like I'm not saying that they should do that, but you know, if you have one that doesn't work, the paper they use to make the like face, you could call it, I suppose, you know, basically like the thing that transmits like the force to the air, because like the center cup thing, like they got there's like a little metal ring, I think, on there, and it's like use magnetism to change the magnetic force on the thing in the center, around the center, whatever, and so like will push outward, basically. Like, you know, you take like two magnets and or two magnetic dipoles, and like I mean, it's not exactly a magnetic tripole, and there are no magnetic monopoles, so I suppose it's kind of, you know, excessive, or like, you know, whatever it's called, superfluous, or whatever it is, like, to specify the polarity, but, or like the number of poles that exist for the magnet. But but if you take like two north, or like whatever you want to, you know, there's red and blue and positive and negative North and South. Anyways, who gives a shit? You know, that's just in America, whatever they use. But so if you take, you know, the two similar poles on a magnet, they push against each other. I'm pretty sure that is the method of operation for the speaker, because it's got a metal ring on the center, and like I'd imagine they like, yeah, they vary the electric field on the that metal, which creates and like magnetizes it. Like you've got the magnet on the bottom that's like kind of like it's ferromagnetic, you know, like it's gonna keep, it's always gonna be magnetic, whether it's, you know, there's like, oh man, now I'm like really stretching my capabilities. I can't remember paramagnetic yet, and then there's, the other, there was one that was even less so than paramagnetic is like, you can make it polarized magnetically, but like, you know, the atomic structure is such that like the molecules are loosely like kind of like loosely oriented, but not so much so that it, you know, it's able to retain that magnetism. Basically, it's only like a water molecule is a good example of a paramagnetic molecule, because that's how a microwave works. I mean, it's like microwave. Basically, you just like, oh, it's not magnetism. That's electric field. Yeah. Well, I mean, but electric fields and magnetic fields basically work the same. To be honest, like, I mean, one begets the other, but not that that really explains any similarities, but like the electric field inside of the microwave gets changed very rapidly, you know, like 1,000 times a second or something like that. So I think it's like 60. What is it? 65.7 or 105.7. I can't remember. Anyways, the angle. It's like a water molecule, you know, H2O or whatever. The hydrogen is like more positively charged. Basically, like, you know, oxygen molecule is oxygen is a 16th element. It has it. Is it 8? Is it? God, man. I don't know. It's been forever since I've taken chemistry. God, fucking idiot. It's like 16 electrons, I think, and yeah, 16 electrons in a neutral water molecule, and so there's 8 valence electrons. I guess it would be SPD shell, because S is 2, P is 6, so that'd be 8, and then yeah, the D shell is occupied by 8 valence electrons. And so the valence electrons are really kind of like what determines mostly like the polarity, for the most part. I mean, you know, between, because like the valence shell, like, who gives a shit, man? Why am I making this like fucking science class? I should probably talk about something like related to the game or something. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been to school, so maybe I'm just being like really. Cause I had to take the last semester off because money and other things and stuff like that. I think maybe I'm just like miss it or something. Haven't like been able to exercise my brain. I mean, I have, but not to the same extent. I mean, I've been able to. I just, you know, been lazy, I suppose. Haven't really been studying all that much. I mean, I don't want to say that. Like, I'm studying Japanese, like, for a little while. Like, I can say, like, a few things, like, you know, boy, girl, man, running, to buy something, like, you know, like, what time is it, like, you know, how are you doing? Would you like to eat at my house? Would you like to get something to drink? That kind of stuff, you know, just like, I don't know, I've been working a lot on my pronunciation there. It's like, I don't know, I can't remember, like, everything, you know, it's hard to, I know that, like, I can only read, katakana. I'm not, I think hiragana is the, I believe the other set of symbols that are similar to katakana, but are not as difficult to, they're not as intricate as the kanji. Like, kanji, I don't know, it's gonna take a while, you know what I mean? Like, I was watching this video about, like, this YouTube, thing. I think her YouTube screen name is Housewife in Japan, I think. And she was talking about, like, you know, how, like, resources, like, learning Japanese and stuff. And she was, like, talking about, it was, it was a book. I can't remember the exact name of it. Basically, it was like, it was just like a glossary, basically, like a dictionary. I guess a dictionary, because it's not a subsection of the book, but like, it was a dictionary of kanji, and she was like introducing the book, you know, as a resource, like a good resource, and she was like, this book contains about 2,000 kanji, and I think that that's all you really need to get by in Japan. Like, oh, just 2,000? That's it? Like, what the? I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not saying there's no hope. Like, I mean, I know that I'm not. Like, I have confidence that, you know, once I'm there and all, like, just, you know, I'm confident that I won't have any problem eventually getting it all, but it's just, I don't know. It's a lot different, you know. I mean, it's not just like, if it was a lot more differentiated, like, if, because the thing is, like, there are kanji characters that, like, look so similar. Like, you know, for instance, I was watching a video, like, I was interested in, like, Japanese mahjong, and so I was watching a video on, like, mahjong and stuff, and, like, there's, like, you know, the different suits or whatever. Like, you have the numbers. Like, the thing is, like, I'm an English person, and, you know, from the time I was, you know, just a zygote, like, I was just like a collection of cells in my mother's fallopian tubes, kind of thing. Like, I've been in America, you know, like, so I understand a lot of the, you know, the English or the American logic behind things. Like, why is this way? Well, okay, that makes sense to me, because, you know, like, you start out, you know, sucking on your mom's tit, and, you know, you are, like, just observing so much when your brain is capable of, you know, basically, like, generating paths between neurons at a never again attainable rate, you know? Like, basically, like, you're capable of learning so much when you're a baby that it's just ridiculous. Like, incapable of describing how intricately advanced, like, you know, human brain is at that age. But, like, so, like, but when I was looking at the, you know, because you got the numbers suit in mahjong, there's, like, you know, you have the numbers, and then you have, like, the whatever's, yeah, the winds, the dragons, those are the four. There's, like, I think the dragons, there's two dragons, there's, like, which, and then there's, like, I think there's, like, more, like, wild card kind of things, like, you take those out, I think, or, I can't remember. I don't know, it's been a while since I watched the video, but, anyway, so you got the four winds, which really have nothing to do, you just, or, yeah, they do have something to do with, I don't know, it's so intricate, like, there's all these different, like, freaking hands and all this. It's not like, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, it's a good example. In poker, which is, like, in my opinion, a pretty American game, you know, English game, whatever. Like, you collect fives, you know, there's like 4 fives, or, like, you know, a sequence is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. But, like, in mahjong, it's like, you know, you can have, like, 3 of one thing and 2 of another, and then 1 of another thing and, like, 4 of another. There's, like, they're all different things, and there's, like, and they don't even, none of them really even seem all that interrelated. Like, I don't see how, like, why is this a hand and this is not? Like, I tried to play Pyrrhon, which is actually, like, pylon, but, like, you know, Japanese people pronounce L's as R's and R's as L's. Like, restaurant is, you know, restaurant, and so, like, that kind of thing. And I was trying to play that, and, like, it wouldn't, like, automatically tell me when I mean, like, I was watching, maybe it was just different rule set or something. Like, I was playing it, and, like, I would make a hand, you know, like, I would make a winning hand, but I watched the video, and, like, I would make a winning hand, but for some reason, like, maybe because I didn't understand, like, the kanji, and, like, didn't know how to declare a winning hand, like, you needed to declare it. I don't think that was it, though. But anyways, like, it's just a lot of this kind of, like, the numbers and the suits and stuff, it makes no sense to me, like, why. It's like the first 3 numbers in, I guess, this kanji are, like, it makes sense. You know, this is like 1 strike, 2 strike. You know, it's like 1, 2, 3. But then, like, it goes up to, like, as soon as it gets to 5, I think, it's like, you know, 5 makes sense, I guess. Because I think that's the one that's, like, you know, it looks like a star, basically, like 5, you know, like, it's like 1, 2, 3, and then the 2 on the bottom. But then after that, it just gets to, look, I don't understand why, okay, that's cool, why does it look like that, you know what I mean, like, and so, like, and the thing is, like, the kanji, like, I don't understand, like, 2 symbols will look almost identical, one will have, like, barely, like, a very small difference, but, and I may be inaccurate in, you know, what I'm saying, you know, but, like, I feel that, you know, 2 symbols that look extremely similar have extremely dissimilar meanings. Like, what that one kanji represents and the other kanji represents, even though, like, usually, you know, the similarities, like, see, and I guess it's just the alphabetic, this is the character set, like a non-alphabetic character set is, like, probably just the difference, because the thing is, like, I don't know, with English words, like, you can apply the same differences to words that are extremely different, and the differences that occur, or the difference in the interpretation, is exactly identical. For instance, putting a on the front of an English word, for most words, basically negates it. And so it's a way of saying, like, that something is not the, like, if you use a word like typical, you know, it's like common, you know, it's like everyday, or, like, you know, typical is, you know, you can expect that to be, that is typical, you know, it's like, oh, somebody, you know, there's a girl named Janet, and she always slams the door, you know, and then, so, like, somebody says, oh, Janet slammed the door, and then, you know, that the other person that they were talking to says, oh, that's typical, you know, for Janet, she always slams the door, or whatever. So, but if you want to say that something is, like, the opposite, like, that never happens kind of thing, like, that, why, she never does that kind of thing, like, you can put an A on the front, like, that's atypical. And that's true for, like, for instance, organisms that reproduce through having intercourse, like, that have genitals kind of thing, like, obviously, like, not funguses or fungi, I mean, it's called sexual reproduction. And so, if it doesn't require sex to reproduce, like, if it's just like it just creates more of itself easily, like polyps or jelly, you know, like, what are they, I guess they're jellyfish, because they have, like, a polyp state or whatever. Anyways, they're, like, genetically identical or whatever, like, they just create copies of themselves. So if it reproduces without having to have sex, it's asexual. So, like, no sex. So if they have sex and they reproduce, then it's sexual. It's a sexual creature kind of thing. Like, But if it doesn't need to have sex when it reproduces, then that creature is called asexual. So like, it's pretty easy to figure out like stuff in English to me, like or American, just like the logic makes sense. Like so, put an A on the front of it, and it's pretty neat because you can navigate, the language roughly, speaking, without actually like really knowing too much. I mean, you can pretty much apply most of the rules or characteristics that you've observed in any other word to that word, and it will likely be accurate. I mean, and so, but when it comes to kanji, it's like, what? How do you, like, you're like, what is the? I don't understand the pattern. Like, why? What was this paint? I mean, it's like you look at a kanji character and like, I guess the thing is like, maybe when you grow up in Japan, like you have your parents and all this, like, and the childhood tales that you're told, or just things that you experience in festivals, or children's books and stuff like this. They kind of maybe in small ways explain the why things are a certain way, kind of thing. Like like a kanji character, like it's kind of like astrology, I guess. It's like when you have constellations, it's like that's a good parallel, like, because you might have like because like the Greeks and all, or just whatever. It wasn't just the Greeks. It was, Romans. Well, I mean, anyways, I won't go on that tangent. Italians, people who, astronomers or whatever, early astronomers, there would be a set of stars, and you'd have a constellation, right? And so, the constellations, like, the only ones that, like, make really any sense to me are the Little Dipper, the Big Dipper, and Orion's Belt. Because those are the only things that actually look like the thing that they're named after. Which I guess those, Big and Little Dipper, those are American names, because, I mean, I don't think Dipper was an Italian word or Greek word, so I don't know, but whatever they're called. Gemini is a good example of a likely constellation that maintained its classical name, but and then there's the bear. Can't remember. But anyway, see, like, the thing is though, like, those shapes, if you take that collection of stars, it's almost like clouds. Like, you look at clouds, like, two different people will look at the same set of clouds and see, like, absolutely different things. And I don't really see, like, how any of the other constellations really look like those things that they're named after. And, which I mean is obvious when you look at the depiction, like, but that's the problem, like, all the lines are drawn in between the stars, you connect the dots, and that's what I'm saying, it's like, it's hard for me to connect the dots with the Japanese language, because, or the kanji characters, because I don't have all that supplemental information that is supplied when you're, developing, but, I don't know, maybe it'll come with time. I mean, like, I can do fine with, like, katakana, but, that's only, katakana, for some reason, I don't really understand why, but, maybe it's just for brevity, like, just to make things shorter, but, it's used in conjunction with kanji, like, all the time, and it's just odd to me, like, maybe as the language was more refined, like, you know, because I mean, it was pretty isolated, and it was one of the earliest civilizations. Like, they were the first people to discover magnetism, because they were cork. They would take bits of cork and stick the little like stick a pen, like, you know, a little sliver of something on the cork, and then they found out that, like, you could take these little specific pieces of metal, you know, material that was magnetized, or I guess it was metal anyway, but, and stick it on top of the pen, so it'd be like a compass basically, like, and that it would rotate. And then, you know, gunpowder, you know, they discovered that, like, the only reason the European world even found out about gunpowder, or had, and I mean, it wasn't even called gunpowder at that point, because, like, they didn't really have, Japan didn't really have guns. Like, they had, like, you know, like, basically like fireworks, but that dealt damage, you know. It's like these little, like, one-shot tube dispense things. Like, it was like a Roman candle, but, like, instead of, like, you know, 15 balls of fire coming out the end, it was like one ball of fire, and instead of just looking pretty, it, like, actually, like, killed people. But they just used, like, wood and stuff. I mean, you know, it's like basically, you know, chopsticks with guns, or bamboo, I suppose, or, you know, some plant material, and then, you know, a missionary, actually, it was like a monk, I think it was like, I can't remember his name, Saint, you know, Saint Peter or something. He was like a, you know, he wasn't like the main Saint Peter. He was like a billion Saint Peters or whatever. And so, anyways, I don't know, maybe that's why it's called, like, saltpeter, because, like, you have to use, it's the main ingredient in gunpowder, is like saltpeter. But I don't remember. Maybe it's probably something different, like Augustine or something. I don't know. But anyways, so the only reason Europe, or, like, the Western world, even found out, but the only reason guns exist is, well, it's not the only reason guns exist. I suppose, in, like, if there were an alternate set of occurrences, like sequence of occurrences, like, guns would likely have been produced at some point. But anyways, the reason perhaps they were introduced so early, like, and I'm talking about, like, you know, the like a permanent metal device and expendable ammunition, that whole thing. I'm not saying guns didn't exist. I mean, Japanese had guns, like, but I was saying, there's, like, one-shot things, and so, you know, it was like a bazooka, but it was actually even, like, more feeble. It was, like, you know, basically just like a bamboo stick with, like, freaking metal ball in the end, you know, like gunpowder behind it. You just, like, light a fuse. But anyways, and so and then, so whatever. I don't even know why I'm talking about gunpowder and shit. But the kanji stuff is, like, having trouble with it. But yeah, I don't do too bad. Oh yeah, katakana is used with kanji. I don't remember what was. Oh, because it became more refined. Maybe the language, yeah, because it was what was the name? Shit. What was his name? Shogun. Damn it, man. It was oh my god, dude. What was his name? I just watched, like, a documentary on it. It was like, he unified Japan, basically. It was like, there were all these feudal lords. It was like retarded amount of, crazy amount of war. There was like 13 different shogun, basically. It was like, there was like this Shogun was like named for like kind of like an emperor before, but it was like a, you know, the emperor is like a soul, you know, it's like king or queen, like, but they were like all different, like battling. Man, all right, I gotta find out. Yeah, it says killing me. I can't remember it. Let's see. It was it's on the tip of my tongue, or I mean, like I can pretty much remember. I just don't. It had an H. It was like, hold on. Let's see. I'll get it in like 2 seconds. It was what's that guy's name? Hi. Can't remember it. It was like, let's see. Yeah, there we go. It's here it is. Alright. Let's see. Can't hear it because of the. Let's shut this thing up. Where is it? Okay. Volume's down so low. There we go. Why's the audio not working? Here we go. No, that's not it.
May we present Lord Kira Yoshinaka, Master of Nagato, from the northern provinces.
I can't hear it, man. What the fuck? Why is it so quiet? Here he is.
His time is Shogun Tokugawa.
Tokugawa. Yeah, there we go. I get Tokugawa. Anyways, okay. So, Tokugawa unified Japan, and I have no idea. No, I can't even remember why I wanted to remember what his name was. But anyways, so Tokugawa. What? Oh yeah, okay. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, so the reason I believe maybe they use like katakana with kanji is because kanji was traditionally, you know, like what was used, maybe, and then like what happened was when Tokugawa right before Tokugawa had gained military power after the because there was a preceding there's a preceding shogun that he was like crazy, like ordered. He couldn't have a son, and like or he didn't have a son to succeed him. So what he did was he like took like a cousin or I don't remember. It was, anyways, he basically like effectively adopted this guy and named him his successor, and then like ends up having a son and obsesses over the son and like making sure that the son is capable of actually like inheriting his position due to lineage rights. And so like he orders the person that he named as his successor to commit suicide. You know, remember anything. What is it? To keep your honor and you slice open your belly. Ku, ku, seppuku. Yeah, seppuku. So he orders, like he gives the guy that he named as his successor previous to having a son, like the luxury of keeping his honor, but like orders him, to kill himself because he doesn't want his actual son to like have to like compete with anyone for the rights or the right to rule the province, or what do they call it there? It was I can't remember the exact name. It's trying to think. I don't know. I gotta pee though, so hold on a second. So is it I was saying that I guess maybe they use katakana with kanji because to better the anyways, once Tokugawa unifies, or a little bit before he unifies Japan, well, I guess actually even way before that, like, well, no, anyways, so they had the traders. They were like, I think they were from, it was Argentina, I think, was where they're from. Not Argent. I don't know. It was some Latin American country. Maybe it was Argentina. And they had brought Catholicism with them to Japan. And then there was a like English monk or some shit that came and ended up being like best friends with Tokugawa and like pretty much securing British trade lines with Japan and like shut out the Argentinians, but that was when guns were introduced to Japan because the British ended up selling them. Like Tokugawa bought guns from the British people from that, because he had that monk who like basically became like super infatuated with Japan and learned Japanese and like basically, you know, was Tokugawa's right hand man. Because I think Tokugawa is kind of like not infatuated, but like really interested in him. Because I don't know, I think like he just was like really fascinated with like the difference in culture, maybe, or like I don't know, but anyways, took a great liking to him, and then like got the guns from him, and then like basically that was why Tokugawa was like, well, I mean, not why, like he was able to gain quite a lot. He was really smart and stuff. Like there's that whole parable with the three animals, or no, there's like a Tokugawa was so patient was what it was, and like there was the three, I can't remember, man. It was like it was basically like this old parable, like of like describing the temperament of the three different shogun. That it was like the guy that, see, Tokugawa like pledged like on, he inherited the kingdom he was in. He wasn't a shogun at first, and it was like where he was kind of like basically like a military general for, he was a samurai, and for the guy who owned that place, who ordered that guy to kill himself, who ended up having that son to inherit everything, and on his deathbed he had to pledge allegiance to the son to defend the son, but then he had to betray that, because, and that's how he gets his first tract of land kind of thing. It's like not Shinjuku, no, there was Tokyo, but it wasn't called Tokyo back then. It was something else, and it ends up becoming Tokyo. But anyways, but it was like, so he has to defy the pledge, he has to break his pledge basically, like with that guy who was dying, who asked him to, so he basically like takes the kingdom from the guy's son, and then that's how he gets his first little thing. And then, okay, so once he's there, because he was a really good battle strategist, and so once he gains quite a bit of land from just his prowess on the battlefield and his patience, because he's well known in Japanese culture for his patience. Like, he, at that point, then that there were still a lot of there were still a lot of people who were considered shogun or whatever, that were rulers of provinces that wanted to, it was just a lot of battle basically, and like it was like, if every state in the United States was like trying to defeat the military leader in the other state and like gain their land. It was like basically the exact same thing. It was just a lot of bloodshed, like, of their own people, and like, so anyways, Tokugawa like makes friends with that British guy, and then he buys the guns from them, and at that point, once he had a bit of land, at that point he buys the guns, and then he becomes like, because nobody else has guns, like, they just can't beat him, and so, anyways, and then so like I think maybe like the introduction of like modern culture due to that kind of thing, like, I think there was a lot of, because Christianity was introduced at that point. It's a really old civilization, like one of the earliest for sure. And so I think that like at that point, like a lot of modern culture was introduced, and like maybe that's why katakana came about and kind of is used with kanji, because kanji, I think maybe it like kind of fills in the gaps with like it makes it more refined, so it's not like so broken up, like, like when a language is in its early, like its infancy or something. It's like, you have like you want to communicate things, but they might be like, you want to communicate something very specifically, but you're not very, you haven't figured out exactly how to do that maybe, and so you're only able to say, it's kind of like when a new person comes to America, like they say, might speak broken English, where it's like, water you have, or fish eat, like, so you'd have like, this kanji character means fish, this kanji character means eat, and so like it makes sense to everybody there, but like maybe it was kind of like a, because you have an alphabetic language from Britain, and it seems like, because katakana is definitely like alphabetic. I mean, it's less alphabetic because it's not like a single sound, you like, I mean, some are like, you got n, but a lot of the other ones are like ko, and I mean, you got o, I guess, but and then you get yo, it's more like a combination of letters, and so I think it's like a kind of a, I think maybe, it's kind of like that idea. It's like maybe like an adaptation of maybe a different culture or something, like, like maybe, just taking ideas from other places, like, where I'm not saying like, my intention isn't to say like, English is more refined than, Japanese at all. That's definitely not what I'm trying to say, but like, I think that, I think everybody kind of picks up things that they like about a certain, you see somebody, I mean, you are an amalgamation of all your observations, like as a human. I mean, the only reason you know how to do anything that you do is because you've seen someone else doing it. and that's the whole thing. There is no creativity. Like, creativity does not exist. You don't create anything. You just basically reorganize things that you've observed in ways which don't actually exist already, but you cannot think of anything that you have not already observed. And if you think that I'm wrong about that, then I would absolutely love for you to prove me wrong on that. But you can't create things. You can only recombine things that you've already seen, but in ways that don't actually exist in life. But and so I think maybe along those lines, it's like kind of maybe it's like filling in gaps, kind of like to like be able to express more easily or more accurately what you maybe mean, but I don't know. But I think that if I'm gonna advertise that I'm streaming on Twitch as playing Touhou, I should probably play Touhou instead of like talking about language theory, like trying to play like Noam Chomsky's role in the Japanese culture. But I don't know. I think they're interesting things to think about, but it's not exactly all that beneficial. But I mean, I'm okay. Like, I know katakana, okay? I mean, like, I'm still not really familiar with, like, some of them are, like, really easy. Like, Ko is, I don't know the name for the character, but Ko is, like, looks like a C in the English language, so it's easy for me. And then, like, No is really easy to me because it looks like an O. And then is really easy because it looks like an N. But like I'm doing better with like recognizing wa. Like I'm pretty good with recognizing wa, but like the and I'm pretty good with ish or shh, whatever. Not too bad with it, but like I know Onanoko and Otokonoko and Otoko no Isho and Ona no Isho and like Jitensha desu. I think it was like you know, like driving the car. Kuruma Otoko no Isho Kuruma Jitensha desu. It's like, you know, the guy is the old man is driving the car, or like, you know, non desu ka, you know, it's like, what is it? And then, you know, it's like or what are you doing? Like, you know, like, would you like to eat something? Like, you know, nanika tabetai desu. No, that's I want to eat something. It's like, nanika tabemasu ka? You know, it's like, would you like to eat something? Or would you like to get something to eat? Or like, watashi no tokoro de biru, watashi no tokoro de, hiru gohan go tabete imasu ka? You know, it's like, would you like to come to my house to eat lunch? Kind of thing, you know, it's like, I mean, the only problem is though, like, I don't really know, like, how to say a whole lot of things. Like I know how to go like say, you know, like a group of people, like the Totachi is, you know, like group, like Onanoko Totachi wa oyoi desu. It would be like, you know, like the group of girls are swimming kind of thing, like, you know, or like, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, like non-genie is like what time it is, what time is it, and and that you like to say like you understand like wakari machita is like, but it like literally means like I understood, like, which you really didn't, because if you say wakari machita, it's like the only reason you have to say that is because you didn't understand previously. But I don't know, it's kind of odd, but you know, like sumimasen, wakarimasen, like watashi wa American jin desu. You know, like I'm American, and then eigo ga wakarimasu ka? And then like eigo ga hanasemasu. Like, well, that's I speak. Hanashimasu is I can speak, I believe. You know, and then atode is later, and itsu is like what time, and you know, like you say like nanika tabemasu ka? And then she's might say ie demo atode, you know, like no, but later. And then doko desu ka? Be like, you know, where. And then you know, like asoko desu, like over there. And soko desu, koko desu, yeah, koko desu is like here, I think. And then like if you were to say no thank you, you know, he's like ie koko desu. Like no, I'm okay. Like you say, I know it's like you have to say gozaimasu after like anything that is basically like effectively thank you. So like it's like anata. Well, you don't really actually have to specify that you're speaking to another person when you ask a question, because it's under, and that's nice about, like, it's more efficient than the English language, because like you wouldn't be asking a question unless you were talking about someone other than yourself, because you don't need to ask someone else something about yourself, you know what I mean? Like, so if you want to ask someone, do you want to eat, do you want to drink something, you don't have to specify. Like a natawa is, you know, like you, so, but you don't need to say that because you're asking a question. It's like kohi nanimasu, kohi nanimasu ka? Nomimasu ka? Kohi nomimasu ka? There you go. So if you're, you know, like ask somebody if they want some coffee, you know, like kohi nomimasu ka? And then you want to say like, no, I'm okay, but thank you. Then, you know, like arigato is thank you, but it's more like a formal thing. But, and so you'd be like, so he said, no, thank you, no, I'm okay. It's like, ie keko desu, and like, keko desu is like, desu is to be, and like, keko is kind of like, I'm fine how I am, you know, like, I'm not really doing too bad, like, I'm okay right now, kind of thing. And you're like, so kohi nomimasu ka? And then you say, いえ、過去です。でも、ありがとうございます。